Hey guys, in this video I will show you how to go from this to this in a matter of minutes using 3ds Max, Corona Render and Photoshop. Let's get started. To understand the logic behind automotive lighting, we need to understand how it works in the real world. In the real world, it works like this. Photographer takes different shots using different lighting scenarios, and then he combines them in Photoshop, which means that we'll use a thing called Corona Light Mixer a lot. To create an automotive studio in 3ds Max, I used this reference image most of the time. Alright guys, so as I showed you before, I used a reference image to model my scene. So let me show the end result of the 3D lighting scene. Let's hit P to go to perspective. And I have a simple box as a ceiling here. And I have a chamfered box as a main background, the room. I have a very simple rectangular box with a fabric which I simulated using 3ds Max cloth simulation to simulate this fabric effect, and that's it, nothing else. Okay, this is our main shot. The first thing to do is to create the main light in the ceiling. It's a simple rectangle, nothing complicated. It's a very simple rectangle. I tried to mimic the real life size of the light. I'm not sure whether it's correct or not, but this is how it's going to look most of the time. Okay, let's go to interactive rendering and see the result. As I told you before, we're using light mix. So once you hit the light mix and you choose individuals, all your lights will appear here. I set up this scene prior to the video. That's why I have all the lights in here. Basically, all I want to do now is to turn on the main light, the ceiling light, and see how it looks. This is looking good, but you can see it's not like a polished, finished look. There are very many things to work on. But before starting to do the lighting, we need to first of all look at the post-processing effect, because post-tone mapping, what I mean by post-processing, I mean the tone mapping plays a huge role. If I turn everything off, you see how weird it looks, right? You see that's how it looks basically without post-processing. If I turn it on, let's explore step by step what I did. So first of all, I did vignette to simulate this darkened corners of the camera. Then I did a filmic adjustment to compress the highlight. You can see the highlight here and here. 0.912 works best in this case. I increased the rich shadow multiplier to get a contrasty shadows. I like it. It's just a personal choice. At the end, I will add a little bit of contrast, but not for now. But the most effect is being done using curves. I explained the curves in my previous video. If you watch the video, understand how it works. But let me quickly tell you about the curves. Basically, it's like three-part. Left side are the shadow parts of the curves, middle parts, and the highlights. Basically, if I turn this down, I will destroy the highlights. If I turn it up, I will boost the highlights. That's the logic of curves. You divide the image, you divide the graph into three parts: shadows, midtones, highlights, and you play with different channels to create a certain color look, certain color scheme. If I turn it off, all my cinematic effect goes off. If I turn it on, everything comes back. I have a bloom and glare and a little bit of sharpening. That's it. So you start doing your lighting after you fix your curves. I mean, you create some color lookup, and then you continue on lighting process. The next thing I like to do, I like to add a thin reflection. See the effect? First of all, it brightens the whole car up, and also it highlights the reflection of the light, which makes it look cool, first of all. And the second, you can see the quality of the model. If the model has a low quality, the curves will break. This highlight reflection will break, which the high quality car model is paramount for car rendering. I mean, if you have a bad quality model, all your reflections will break apart. The next thing to do is to brighten the rims. You see the rims are a little bit dark, not only the rims, but the tires as well. So let's turn on the front rim, see the difference, and the rear rim. And the process itself is very easy. Basically, all I do is I add a cylindrical light, and I add a little bit of directionality. Directionality is, let me explain in this way. Value of 1 means you have a laser focused light. Value of 0, you have a diffused light. So it closes the cone of the light if the value is high, and it opens it if the value is low. So I have 0.35, which is like this, not too close, not too open. It's directed. And the second thing to keep in mind is that rims are made of chrome, and which means it will reflect everything in it. Basically, the whole like car rendering is being done by creating certain reflections, because car is a reflective surface, and to sculpt a beautiful lighting, we need to keep in mind that lights basically reflect in the car, and the way to put the lights is to the way we put the lights, we keep in mind that they are going to reflect in the car itself, and that's how we shape the model, by creating different types of reflections in different places. So let's say if I move the light in front of the rim, you see it's going to reflect like a mirror, which I don't want. So I rather push it to the left, and the same for here. It's pushed a little bit to left under the angle. It is basic physics, guys. Like, everything reflects when doing car visualization. We're working with a mirror-like surface. We need to keep in mind. So once it's done, I can see that background is empty, and let's add the background light and see how much effect it makes. Nice. And this is also is a very simple rectangular light, nothing complicated. So the whole idea behind car visualization is to eyeball it, and the key here is to look at as many good car renderings as possible to make your brain learn and differentiate good versus bad, high quality shot, low quality shot. It's just a matter of how much information you have consumed during the time. Okay, guys, and now all I want to do is to hit a render button. First of all, I'm going to choose a 4K resolution, and I'm going to hit the render button, and I will aim for 1.5% noise, because I want everything to be like clear. That will expose a lot of details on the floor, which I really need for realism. Once it's done, we will go to Photoshop and see how the post-processing works. After 4 hours of rendering, we're finally there. Alright guys, now we're in Photoshop. So this is the main rendering of the car without the rim lights. What I also did in 3ds Max, I rendered out a mask for the rims, tires, body, two masks. One the object mask, one the material mask. That's it. And to do it, you just go to render elements, add C masking ID. You choose instance in one case and you choose material in the second case. So the second thing I'm going to do, I'm going to turn on the second version. Let's disable the mask. Where I have the rim lights turned on. You see, this is without the rim lights, with the rim lights. And I'm going to mask this image only to certain parts. All I do is I go to, let's delete it just to show you. I hit this mask button, Control I to invert it, to make it black, which means it's not visible. It's only visible in parts where it's bright, where it's painted white. In the black parts, it's not visible. Okay. I choose a simple brush and I simply paint it out. Why I'm doing this? Because at this part, I don't want the right reflection to be visible on the car. I only want the reflection of the light to be visible on the tires and on the rims. So I gotta paint it out. That's the version number one. The second method that I can use is to simply go to masks, choose the layer mask, choose my masks, delete the mask here and simply hit the mask. It already will automatically mask this tire, but it is too rigid of an approach. I like to hand paint it, but you need to keep in mind that that's also a way to do it. Okay. So the second thing I do simply is I added a smoke, and this is a very interesting part. We will explore the smoke part in the next video because it takes a little bit time to understand how the physics simulation, like smoke simulation, works. But all we are going to do is to create a real smoke. It's not a Photoshop, it's a real smoke. Let me show you. It's a simulated smoke. See, just a second. It's a simulated smoke. I have rendered a separate pass with the smoke itself, and I combined it in Photoshop. We will explore this in the second video, how to do a smoke of the tires, smoke of the headlights, etc. So I added a smoke. I added a little bit of color and curves adjustment to the smoke layer, a little bit of curves on the overall image just to create a little bit of contrast, a little bit of color balance, and that's it. So the second thing to do after you finish the color correction in Photoshop is to crop it. Let's do a Control A, Control C, create a new Photoshop file, and here you can see the light. I have the ceiling light visible in my render, which I don't want it to be there. So I'm going to crop. I can choose different cropping ratios. Let's go for 16 and 9 and crop it down a little bit. And that's it. Because I did a 4K render, I also can do a vertical crop of this rim part with the smoke. I mean, be creative, create like different shots, test, see which one works, and publish those that you like the most. And basically that's it, guys. Let's wrap it up. Different lights, like multiple lights, one rendering with Corona light mix, saving different lighting scenarios, in this case overall lighting scenario, and the one without the rims, and combining them in Photoshop. That's it. Nothing complicated. So let's go to the next video. Wait for me to publish the next video where I will show you how how to simulate smoke. Guys, you can also download this scene, the full lighting scene, and test your own car itself. Of course, I can't include the car model because I purchased it on ArtStation from a guy called Louis Lara, if I'm correct, and I'm not able to distribute it. It's not legal, but I will upload the car studio, and you can download it with the link below and test your own cars in it. Guys, I hope I was able to explain you the logic behind automotive lighting in 3ds Max. And if you have any questions, just let me know in the comments below, and I see you in the next video. Bye.